here's Brandon talking to CNN about why we don't need to be using taxpayer dollars for the likes of PBS or NPR.
I'm a member of the DOJ Subcommittee of Oversight. We were tasked with finding waste, fraud, and abuse in the federal government and highlighting it. And one of those that we found, which Republicans and conservatives have talked about for decades, is state-sponsored media in the United States. China and North Korea have state-sponsored media. The United States does not need state-sponsored media. Listen, if Fox News or any other conservative news organization came to me and asked for taxpayer money, I would tell them no. And I certainly don't think we should be funding left-wing propaganda outlets like NPR or PBS. I had a hearing just a couple weeks ago where I got to question the head of NPR and ask her about some of the wild, outrageous things that she had been posting on the internet for the whole world to see, and she had no answer for that. The American people are sick of funding institutions who promote values that they find repugnant, and that's what we're doing with NPR and PBS. And that's what we are hopefully soon, via a rescission bill, going to pull those funds back.
Wow. Okay. So Donald Trump is making this executive order, but let's be very, very clear. He has the support. He has the support of Congress on this right now, without a doubt. In other words, they don't want any taxpayer money going to this stuff, especially in light of, well, the reality that, you know, some of the sort of values that are being espouted on some of these programs are clearly at odds with what so many Americans think. And you know how we know they're at odds? Because they hate Donald Trump, right? They hate everything that MAGA stands for and anything that conservatives stand for. And there's some reasons, I think, why there are so many lefties there at NPR and at PBS, which I'm going to get to in a second. But first, go back to what Brandon was saying. Remember how he said he asked Catherine all these questions and she had like no answers? It was actually really peculiar. He asked her about all these things that she had tweeted out that she was very emphatic on, and she wouldn't answer him on any of it. Let's take a listen to this. It's pretty good.
Miss Marr, I want to start with you. Just generally, would you say you generally agree or disagree with the following statement? The history of all hitherto existing society is the history of class struggles?
I would not say I agree with that.
You're not. That's good to hear. It's interesting because a lot of your thinking, as expressed by your public statements, is deeply infused with economic and cultural Marxism. Do you believe that America is addicted to white supremacy?
I believe that I tweeted that, and as I've said earlier, I believe much of my thinking has evolved over the last half decade.
It has evolved. Why did you tweet that?
I don't recall the exact context, sir, so I wouldn't be able to say.
Okay. Do you believe that America believes in black plunder and white democracy?
I don't believe that, sir.
You tweeted that in reference to a book you were reading at the time, apparently, The Case for Reparations.
I don't think I've ever read that book, sir.
You tweeted about it. You said you took a day off to fully read The Case for Reparations. You put that on Twitter in January of 2020.
Apologies, I don't recall that I did.
Okay.
I'd no doubt that your tweet there is correct, but I don't recall that.
Okay. Do you believe that white...
Whoa. She took a day off from work to read the thing, then tweets that, and she can't remember that she even read it? Whoa. What are we paying her for?
People inherently feel superior to other races?
I do not.
You don't? You tweeted something to that effect. You said, I grew up feeling superior. How white of me. Why did you tweet that?
I think I was probably reflecting on what it was to grow up in an environment where I had lots of advantages.
It sounds like you're saying that white people feel superior.
I don't believe that anybody feels that way, sir. I was just reflecting on my own experiences.
Do you think that white people should pay reparations?
I have never said that, sir.
Yes, you did. You said it in January of 2020. You tweeted, yes, the North, yes, all of us, yes, America, yes, our original collective sin and unpaid debt, yes, reparations, yes, on this day.
I don't believe that was a reference to fiscal reparations, sir.
What kind of reparations was it a reference to?
I think it was just a reference to the idea that we all owe much to the people who came before us.
Whoa! Oh my gosh, she's clever, huh? That's one way to get out of it. Listen, this is the end of state media. You're watching it right here, right now. If you guys can make that work, you go make it work on your own. But I don't think taxpayers are going to be paying for it anymore, which is important. It's a good deal. You know what? This, ladies and gentlemen, let me show you. Whoopsie daisy. We got to get the right camera up here. See? This is my favorite thing. The Smith-Mundt Act. Okay, the Smith-Mundt Act of 2012. This went into being because of one Barack Obama. Okay, so he changed the propaganda rules. He lifted the domestic ban on U.S. government-produced media. We used to do this back in the Cold War days. Okay, we did this like back in the 1950s. We actually put the Smith-Mundt thing in because we wanted to make sure that our State Department was projecting our worldview onto all the other countries that we wanted to influence. But the deal was you couldn't actually turn it back on us, like you couldn't have some kind of psych up going on with us. And then it all changed. Officially in 2013, rather interesting given that Donald Trump came around in 2015, right? So 2013 it changes. They lift the domestic ban, and all of this means is that all of the propaganda that was being pushed, say, overseas, suddenly could be used right here at home. I mean, this is amazing, right? And you talk about how the insanity started. I mean, we got lots of insanity from the likes of Whoopi Goldberg, et cetera, everybody on Disney, everybody in the mainstream media that tried to tell you that Donald Trump was the equivalent of Hitler. I mean, how insanely disrespectful to Jews, to anybody who died in that war, to us, to our troops, to our allies. Insane. Thank you, Trace, for the support. Much, much, much appreciated. Trying to get everybody to make sure that they hit a like button and that they subscribe. The subscribe is really important because we're jumping thanks to all of your subscriptions here, 730,000 people. But this Smith-Mundt Act, this is actually really important because that's when you start to see this tone change. And I think since then, like, it's just gotten wild. And I used to say, why is this? Like, I've been in the media for 20 years and I know they were always biased and I always knew they were lefty, but how did it get so aggressive and so mean so fast? And I go back to this because all of a sudden USAID money was being used to pay media outlets that had international footprints but had big footprints right back here at home. And so all of that is changing, all of that is stopping, and like the money train, the gravy train is over. You have to either be able to succeed on your own or you're just not going to succeed. We shouldn't be having taxpayer funds go to all this, which is, again, like, I'm proud of what we've been able to do here because we are succeeding on our own. And it's because you guys are interested in truth and real stuff. And I love that. You know, I mentioned I'm here in Savannah, Georgia today with Job Creators Network. Good news, we added 177,000 jobs to our economy in the last month. This is very good for Trump. I mean, he's got lower energy prices. You've got unemployment at 4.2%, holding steady. You got a jobs report that is coming through is relatively strong. I mean, everybody was worried about this thing with tariffs, et cetera. So I think he's looking back on his first 100 days and he's saying, wait a second, okay, there's been some volatility in the markets, but you know what? It's all shaken out kind of nicely. This strong jobs report fueling gains in the market today. It's good stuff. Remember, if you're interested in investing, you know where you need to go. My company that I started with my friend Rob Horton, 76research.com. You can use code word dollar so that you can get the 76 report for just $1 a month. You can swing it. Come on. By the way, if you don't like it, we give you the $1 back, right? So no harm, no foul. $1 for the first 2 months, then it goes to $9.95, $9.95. Anyway, a lot of information there that you can use.